3,
Are we live?
2, 1. I think we're
Lift
basically
off.
back in a second.
Are
We'll
we
be back
back?
in just
Are
a
we back?
second. There we are. We're back. Okay, good. Refresh
we
your
didn't
screens,
say
everybody.
anything that great while you were gone.
Excuse me, everything I say is great.
Everything you say is brilliant and genius, and we're so
yes,
lucky to have you.
I insist.
You know.
So, but what I was saying is that between these two folks, and it probably cut out right about this time, is that if you're saying it's a wash between Harris and Trump or Biden and Trump, then what you're saying is you consider kicking babies with cancer out of the country, or sending people to gulags in El Salvador, or ending Medicare and Medicaid support for the poorest people among us, guaranteeing there's no extension of the child tax credit, undermining getting lead out of the water and all those kind of things. Is more, you consider that a plus. What that says to me about those people is that person is saying, I think it's going to be a wash, so what I would rather have is migrants treated like shit, trans people treated like shit, gay rights thrown out a fucking window or pushed off a roof, is a more appropriate analogy, I suppose, and that people on Medicaid are useless eaters. Because that's what you're saying. That's what you're saying.
Awesome.
If you're saying it's a wash, that's what you're saying. It grosses me out.
So
it's so fucking gross.
And it's fine to blow up a fertility clinic. That's fine, too. It's fine
so
to
that
blow
guy,
up abortion clinics and fertility clinics, and it's all fine to do this shit in the name of what?
Man. Okay, so if people don't know, because there was, there was a guy who shot up the gym not far from my house on Friday here in Vegas. Walked in, killed one person. He was killed by the police, but he wounded 4 others. One's critical. I don't know why yet, and does it really fucking matter? Honestly, it's just gross. All these things are ego crimes. I'm just saying. All these things are ego crimes. You think you're more important than other people's lives. That's what that is. That's always what that is. Anybody who comes in and shoots someplace up, their manifesto, any of that kind of stuff is all bullshit. It's ego. It is. My way of living and thinking and my existence is more important. My gripe is more important than your life. It's all ego all the time. And it is a gym I go to. So I have a membership at that gym. I was not anywhere near it at the time, obviously, but it is just down the road.
Very glad.
Yeah. So, also in that same window, there was a guy who blew up, set off a bomb at a fertility clinic, at an IVF clinic in Palm Springs, near 25 Palms. And this guy, the way that everybody is spinning what he actually is, and what he is in reality, the way he spoke, he's an anti-natalist, which is what they call it, which is such a softening of it. But he believes that humanity is a failed experiment and everybody needs to die. And anybody who has babies needs to be stopped. Right?
That's
and so,
not at all insane.
No, it's fucking bananas. It's awful and ridiculous and gross and whatever. And again, don't have kids then, I guess, is the thing. Like, I don't know.
Well, he said...
Get your nuts tied.
He called himself a mortalist. I don't know what a mortalist.
Okay, so a mortalist is
life.
Yeah. Okay, so he's really, his stuff was about antinatalism. People need to stop giving birth. They need to stop having babies and shit like that. But on top of that, the mortalist part is that to the end that all life needs to go away, which is just nihilistic horseshit. There's no real there. There is a there in the ideology that people shouldn't be having babies, because what the fallback
Not too many.
What that means is the fallback is always people shouldn't be having babies except me and mine, which is where that's where the Peter Thiels of the world get their shit. They're anti-natalist, and they're very pro IVF because they think it will help selectively edit genes in the future. And they're not wrong, but they can't wait to get there so that they start master racing and super upping the human race and all that kind of stuff and eliminating certain folks. Right?
This guy said in his manifesto or whatever, I didn't ask to be born. Just what? That's like asking for choice before you have any consciousness.
Well, again, this is
I didn't ask to be born.
Right. This is just
so
nihilistic, self-involved bullshit. Yes, essentially. But here's the thing: he didn't attack. We're lucky that he went on a Saturday, and when he thought nobody would be there, ultimately just to blow up the eggs, which is the thing. Except there's always people there because there's a like a urgent care clinic. It's in a little Horseshoe, that building over there. So the fertility clinic's up to the road, and then the urgent care is behind it. And that's what most of the parking lot is for. So the injuries, I think, were largely about that. And it's like, you're always going to kill a fucking security guard or something. What the fuck is wrong with you? So
they're idiots. They're insane. They're selfish.
Yeah.
There's something wrong with their thought process.
And yet it is ego at its root. That's what it is. It's ego.
Selfish.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's selfish. You want to die, like, that's a sad thing enough anyway. And you're not seeking help, even though help is available to you. And you've decided you're going to make a permanent choice for a temporary problem. And that's what suicide is. And it's very sad. And as somebody who has lost friends to suicide, it's heartbreaking to see anybody struggling like that at all. But if you have decided you're done, you are done with this life, it has nothing to offer you, you have decided go out alone. It is unfair and more selfish and more
don't take anyone with you, because that's no longer suicide. I even think it's a mistake to call it murder suicide at that point. I think it's you might have a wanton indifference to your own life, but the murder has primacy in that situation, right? And the other thing too, and I would argue, this has always been my argument for people who want to do themselves in or don't like living anymore. Here's what I would say. Get rid of yourself, but not your physical body. Get rid of your identity. Just move. Just pack up. If your life sucks that much, people have hitchhiked into oblivion before. Do that first, because you might be on a trajectory in this life towards being there the day that somebody needs you, and you just don't know it yet. And so you need to stick around. Right. And yes. And on an individual level, yes, obviously get help. And if you have ideation about that, please see someone about it. But on a practical sense, you don't have to destroy your physical self to destroy the parts of yourself that you don't like. You're allowed to reinvent yourself. You're allowed to go, I'm not satisfied with this life and the way it is, and I think I've done no good in my life up to this point, so fucking pack it in. Go someplace else. Move to another town. Become a fucking nurse. Turn your life.
They can't. But they're not going to think like that. They are.
And your identity, not your physical person. This is I just don't ever think, again, I don't think anybody brings that up to enough people. And I think I would like to just add that equation into the thinking, right? Yes, we were talking about the Palm Springs bomber. Yeah, and total 4chaner. Absolutely right.
And you can't keep calling yourself the pro-life party if you're fine with other people acting out and causing fatalities. You can't. Anyone who goes and shoots up a school, anybody who goes and does what this guy does, blows up an a fertility clinic, or people who shoot an abortion doctor. We know now. You're not the pro-life party, right? No. You're shooting an abortion doctor so they can't perform abortion. So whose life are you pro?
We know now that during the time that the NRA was after every school shooting, suddenly they would do an NRA gun show within weeks, or within oftentimes a couple of weeks or a few days, right? They would do it on purpose. We now know those were all funded by Russia, right? That's the thing. We now know that. That's not even a fucking mystery anymore. That those events, the idea might be somebody stupid's and it might actually happen organically, but they might have had these ideas for years. They never were able to act on it until Russian money was funneling through the NRA and giving them the ability to roll in and set up shop basically tax-free in all of these environments. So after Parkland and after Sandy Hook and all this shit, and they show up like the next county over, or even in the same fucking city, right? Just parking their shit there, reminding everybody why everybody should have a fucking gun, right?
It's so stupid.
It's terrible, right? It's just grotesque. But it was paid for by Russia. So ultimately, one of the things we have to remember is there are a lot of dumb ideas out there. There are a lot of bullshit. There's a dumb idea for at least every person on the planet, and the people around Trump have more than their fair share. So they average it's like housing in California. There's $25 million mansions, and then there's apartments and condos in Bakersfield, and never the twain shall meet. The median price might be $800,000, but there's a reason for that. There's also a dumb idea matrix that's very similar. And then in Trump world, they're way over fucking quota. But in the past, they would have had these stupid ideas, but they weren't able to act on them because either they were shamed by the rest of society, which I argue is part of our job to continue to do that, but they also couldn't afford it. There was no appetite or money for it. And that money started to flow in from foreign sources. And we need to remember that when we start talking about these folks are everywhere. These people are everywhere. Like this idea is all around us. No, it's on social media all around us. But in the real world, you find a lot of this. It's just why like normal gun legislation, 70, 80% popular in most cases, even amongst gun owners. Even I would argue sometimes, especially amongst gun owners who are aware of the dangerous thing they have in their house, and they may have a kid or a toddler or a young adult, and they know not to have it accessible to them, because it's just not safe, right? That's clear. Right. So this idea that we're surrounded by all these people and like, oh my God, everybody's like this now. Like Trump is selling that to everybody. He's saying like, we won by the biggest landslide. Well, not even close. It was a jump ball. Ultimately, they have a narrow margin in the House and the Senate, and we have to remember that every time we get overwhelmed by the idea that, oh my God, everywhere is trying to do this, because they absolutely are not. And if they didn't have this funding, they wouldn't be able to show up in all these places. Right.
That's right. Also, I would love for anybody to tell me about a time a Democrat came to the door and said, hello, I'm here for your guns. Never.
Right.
Doesn't happen. Yeah. That narrative of, oh, Democrats are going to take away your guns. No, Democrats just want you to be safe with your guns and not kill other people with them. And I don't think that's a crazy thing to ask. Just you can have them if they give you a false sense of security because you're all scared and you bought into this propaganda narrative of everybody's coming to kill you. That's your business and you want to think like that. I can't change the way you think. But what I could ask you is, tell me, they keep saying that Democrats are coming to take away your guns, and this has never happened. Mm-hmm. We don't do that. We don't take things from you. We just want you to be healthy and safe. How that became the narrative is just another example of bullshit propaganda taking over and people choosing to live in fear rather than just educating themselves. Mm-hmm. And one of the few things that Donald Trump has been successful at, because he learned it from Putin and Cohen from being groomed, you scare people just enough. Mm-hmm. Scare them just enough. They'll stay there. It doesn't, and he doesn't give them any sense of security, right? He doesn't even give them a false sense of security. He just keeps yelling and screaming at them, and it just demonstrates how weak he is. It keeps reiterating, like he keeps telling them that there's 20 million people at the border every day invading us. No, there isn't. That's not a real thing. When they talk about people who came to this country during the Biden administration, 11 million people did not cross the border all at once. That doesn't happen.
No.
We're not being invaded.
Nope.
There's no invasion coming from any border. Like this is the kind of narrative that I hope starts breaking down.
Right.
I don't know.
We can't. Right. And I think our part in it is don't automatically buy into the idea that somehow it is a really ubiquitous thought. It's very easy to, and we don't think we're susceptible to their sales pitch, but a lot of people actually are on our side of the aisle.
Yeah, they are.
They did win this mandate. There was a mandate. There was absolutely no mandate, not by any stretch of the imagination. And what little support he did have that put him over the edge has faded since. He's still underwater with the vast majority of people. So you have to understand there are more people on your side of this than there are on their side of this. And we have to remember that in how we're talking to our fellow Americans and to each other, because you can see a lot of people like assuming strength where there is none. Never assume strength on behalf of your enemy or your opponent in a circumstance. You have to be logical and realistic about the strengths that they do have, but don't give them any more credit than they have earned, because you will set yourself back. And especially when it's a debate level of argument. We're not talking about a physical fight. You can assume that, it's always a good idea to assume someone is armed in a weird physical dust-up in public. It's a good idea, I would argue, in most situations that this person could have a knife or a gun, maybe settling this thing down and not letting it ratchet up is probably better for everybody, right? Even if it doesn't turn out to be the case. That's smart. But when it comes to debating ideas and this, you know, in our back and forth about how to solve some of the greater issues in this life, don't give them any more strength than they have, because they're incredibly weak right now. Holy shit! Have you seen what's going on over at the Daily Wire?
No, please tell me there's infighting and they're mad at Trump.
They just lost. Yeah. So they just lost their CEO. Yes.
Ooh.
So yeah. So this was just last month. Jeremy Boring, great name for a CEO of Daily Wire, stepped down as the CEO. They hit like peak money during Biden because, you know, a lot of these organizations do really well while they're in the opposition. But once they, you know, once that's over, once they've caught the fucking car, all of a sudden the money ain't there anymore. Now, I would argue, hey, billionaire Democrats, you could be throwing some our way and helping us out. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
But in the meantime,
we need a
like, subscribe, give a thumbs up, support the show. Right, yeah. But here it is. Why did, you know, this guy, he didn't just step down. One of the reasons he stepped down is because they are losing subscribers. They started all this Daily Wire Plus. They were going to make movies. They gave Gina Carano a movie. Remember that? Like they gave her a 2-picture deal that went fucking nowhere. They did this knockoff, like anti-trans comedy, like knockoff of Dodgeball, right? 2 years ago.
God.
Right? And since then, they have been bleeding subscribers, bleeding money. They talked about, like, just 2 years ago, they were talking about they're going to put like $100 million a year into their entertainment wing to expand, like, children's programming.
No, they're not.
Anti-woke children's programming stuff. They had cartoons on, all kinds of shit, and it all went away. And they had their own publishing thing, just like Trump did with his fucking 45 books bullshit, right? That went away. That lasted about 11 months. Well, here's the thing. In Trump's case, absolutely money laundering. Just using it to cycle through and sell,
100%.
grift shit to your followers, but also to buy stuff back. You know, like, you know, buy your own books and set them on fire, and then somebody else pays more for acting like they paid more for them than they actually paid for them, and then you never deliver them. Yeah, there's tons of that. But this guy working with Ben Shapiro and those crowd over there, he's stepping down as co-CEO of the Daily Wire to focus on the company's creative ventures. Particularly the Pendragon Cycle, which is a TV series. They bought the books, the Pendragon Cycle, or Pendragon, or whatever they're called, and they're turning it into their Game of Thrones or whatever.
Yeah, and no, that's not gonna.
Yeah, and they've been pouring money into this thing, and they've spent so much money on the Pendragon Cycle, this series, their Game of Thrones. They're like MAGA Game of Thrones thing that they're doing. They've spent so much fucking money on it that it would have to do better in the ratings than the actual Game of Thrones to make its money back. Yes, the Pentaveret. Yeah, to make money, to like break even, it would have to be a runaway fucking hit. We don't want
this should be a runaway fucking hit.
I agree.
This should be this.
That's way cheaper to make
anything from the
than a Dragon TV show.
Republican publishing racket.
Right.
This one, if only the DNC would buy up The Sound of Settling in bulk and give it out to everybody like the Republicans do with their crap. Anyway, this is available for you right now at TowerDublinRocks.com.
There you go.
Back to it. Sorry.
Yeah, so we're at the end of the show, but I think it's a good piece of news in this regard.
Are we there already?
Yeah, we are. It's steamed by. The one hitch seemed to be the only thing that slowed our roll at all. By the way, hit the like, share the show, etc., etc. Check out Tara's book. Go to TaraDublinRocks.com and buy the book.
Yes, please. Yes, please.
And
sign up for my Substack and Hal Substack and the Political Voices Network Substack and watch the Tara Show. I don't know about changing the name now, though. We'd have to talk to Ron and George about that. But
I like TNT.
I know, but it doesn't tell you what it is. At least Tara Show says Tara is a name. But TNT indicates what? I don't know. We talked about that when we were coming up.
You have a logo that says
name of the show.
No, it just says TNT for the Tara, for Tara and Tara, and you just put those below it. People will know what it is. I mean,
people
don't go to the New York Should we change the name from New York Times to NYT? I don't know if people will like know where they're going.
Should it be HBO
KFC?
Max? Should it be Max or should it be HBO Max
Plus
or HBO? Anyway, what I would say is TNT are dynamite is what the tagline would be if we did that. Anyway, back to what you were saying though.
So the important thing, the important thing is that don't let them run away with this illusion. I think our 2 takeaways from today is, don't let them have this illusion that they are stronger than they are. Don't immediately cede that ground. It's like that. Don't obey in advance. Believing that their ideas are stronger or got smarter or more effective or whatever just because they won that last election is a mistake, and it's wrong. It's not true, and it undermines your own get up and go every day. So if you feel exhausted or tired by the fight, it partly comes from that. This idea that that you like, oh God, we're behind the 8 ball, when we're actually not, especially from that point. And the other one, of course, thing is that if you feel like doing yourself in, please don't. You're needed in this world, and we love you, and we're glad you're here, and we would like more of you, and we look forward to the day when you realize, oh my God, my life has been leading up to this moment, and I actually was able to help this person. And if you're really looking for something to do other than be yourself, volunteer. Go, you know what?
Do it. Get at something for another person.
Become a slave to goodness. I was going to get rid of my body and the brain that goes with it, but instead, I'll just get up every morning and use it until it's broken, building houses for the poor. How about that? How about that? It's okay.
That sounds great.
Do that instead.
It worked for Jimmy Carter.
It did.
And it's interesting. And if you want to point this out, like the de facto leader for MAGA is a fucking coward. He's spineless. He's scared of everything. He's jealous of goodness. He complains about Bruce Springsteen and Taylor Swift.
Right.
I mean, he can't stand people who are universally beloved because he's jealous. And here's a perfect, like we right now have a perfect example of strength versus weakness, where you have Joe Biden stepping up and saying, I am a fallible human. I am living with cancer. This is something that is happening. This is real. I'm not hiding it. I'm out. I'm standing up and sharing this with you because I trust the American people with this truthful information. It doesn't make me weak. It makes me human. On the other side of the scale, Donald Trump looks at anybody who's sick as being weak. Because remember when they would attack Hillary for coughing when they were campaigning? So he sees illness as weakness, which is why when he had COVID, he didn't tell anybody he had COVID, and he showed up to the debate and gave Joe Biden COVID. And then when he had to go to the hospital because they thought he was going to fucking die from COVID, he wouldn't even allow himself to be seen in an ambulance. He had to call in Marine One and make it look like a big, brave deal going on. Donald Trump is so weak. He will do anything
He walked up the steps and he was like breathing like he just run a marathon. When in reality, he was like huffing and puffing, and you're like, I don't know if that's COVID or just the fact that he's out of fucking shape. Like he huffs and puffs going upstairs anyways. Right.
But it's a perfect like visual metaphor for what strength looks like and what weakness looks like. And weakness is not Joe Biden having cancer.
Nope.
Strength is Joe Biden standing up and saving this country and putting this country ahead of himself for 4 years, which he did. And I'll keep saying it over and over again. Joe Biden lifted our economy out of Donald Trump's pandemic depression, lifted our economy to a historic level that had not been seen in 60 years, and lifted up all other global economies with ours. But the media didn't tell you that because he was old. And here's a one thing that you want to take with you today. If people start pulling that ageist shit like Maureen Dowd, Donald Trump will be 79 next month.
Yep.
Joe Biden was 1 year younger when he was sworn into office. Okay.
And Trump's in way worse shape in the first year. And again, we watch this. We'll talk about this next week because I have no doubt that it will come out because he's apparently having this phone call with Putin today. He talked to Zelensky before it, which was supposedly a surprise. But like Russia put out a statement afterwards that they're going to talk about talking. So that, again, just another failure of this dickhead's idea that he could solve everything with one phone call. This is his 16th phone call at minimum since the inauguration that we know of, and still nothing. And we will end on this little piece right here, which Trump not yet whipping GOP votes on mega bill.
Of course he's not. And also, just remember, if Moody's is downgrading you, you're not a successful businessman.
Yeah,
You're not running a successful business if you're being downgraded. Down is bad. Up is good in sales. So, not a successful businessman.
Right.
Besties with Epstein for 25 years. And this was my narrative all weekend getting trolled. People don't like it when you call him a convicted felon. They'll make up shit about why he was convicted. It's not a real conviction. The jury was rigged. Blah, blah, blah. You say he was besties with Jeffrey Epstein for 25 years. They just don't come back and respond.
They got nothing.
Have nothing. So we have the truth on our side, and we always have, and that is where the strength is. Strength in numbers, strength in truth.
That's right.
And strength here on the Political Voices Network, because independent media is invested in continuing to tell the truth, regardless of who it's about. So remember, as we leave, sign up for the Political Voices Network Substack, and sign up for Hal's Substack and my Substack. And I hope to see you all on the Tara Show tomorrow at 2 p.m. on the East Coast and 11 a.m. on my coast. Thank you, Hal. Your generosity fills my heart with joy.
Anytime. All right. Bye-bye. There she goes, ladies and gentlemen. Love you too. There she goes, ladies and gentlemen. Tara Dublin, who does indeed rock. And I mean that, kids. I love you guys being around. I can't tell you how much I appreciate the gift of your eyeballs and your ear holes during these shows. And you're needed, you're wanted, and you're loved. That's all. I'm just going to throw that out there. Including the full-on maggots and trolls who are in here. Again, we need you desperately. Thank you for being here. You're lovely. And the folks who are allegedly on my side of the aisle, but somehow have a problem with me being honest with them about things or calling bullshit on certain things, which I will continue to do because I care about the ideas more than I care about the words. Yeah. Like in the little stash. Yeah, it's I haven't shaved much. There's not a lot there, but that's just the nature of it. Your kidney's tired. Imagine how... Who did that?
You are watching Sports Megaworldwide. Glad you're along for the ride. Every day I see by your side. So please, would you like to subscribe?
The kidney has a very special place in the heart.
I have heard that. I have heard that. That's true. All right, we're off. See you guys later. All right. Hit that like, share the show. Thank you guys so much. See you this afternoon. Oh boy, I have some flipping out about the Patel. We got to look at the Patel Bungholio interview. Oh my God. Oh my God. And everyone's reaction to it because they're not enjoying it. That's all I'll say.
You think you know something about everything, don't you?
You goddamn right I do.
I gotta barbecue your ass if I laughing.
All right, sure. Not here to yuck anybody's yum.
He's a genius, eh?
That's true. All right, credits. Hey, we need at least 10 subscribers. I think we need at least 10. 10 subscribers. 10 subscribers. Do we have 10 more subscribers? Oh, baby.
Don't wreck our show, you hoser.
I know. Beauty, eh? Thank you, KJ Dog Glove.
Oh, hello there.
Look out. Hit that like.
Hey, careful, man. There's a beverage here, huh?
those men wanted to have sex with me.
No, we're not homosexual, but we are willing to learn.
I love Liam. We need you. Hell, I need you. I'm a mess without you. I miss you so damn much. I miss being with you. I miss being near you. I miss your laugh. I miss your scent. I miss your musk. When this all
by the
gets
way, this
sorted
Friday.
out, I think you and me should get an apartment together.
I agree. This Friday, Patreon and members of YouTube, we got a comedy show coming up. Flappers this Friday. I can't do it the following week because it's my kid's birthday and I'm actually taking a couple of days off. Yeah, you heard it here first. I hope that's okay with you guys. Hashtag family first. Hashtag Doge is a heist. Love you too. Thanks, Paul. Okay, gotta go.